I wanted to play a Donnie Brasco clip here, but then the clip just didn't translate very well. But that was you seen Donnie Brasco?
No.
That was a scene in Donnie Brasco. It's one of the best scenes ever because Johnny Depp is an informant, but he's in with the mob and he's getting established. But this is back in the day where the technology to wire somebody wasn't what it was. So he had a tape in his boot, like a tape recorder in his boot.
Right.
So they go to this Japanese place where you have to take your shoes off, and he's got a tape in there. So he gets in there, and then the Japanese guy goes, "Well, take your shoes off." And Johnny Depp, he has to just on the fly. He's like, "No, I'm not taking my shoes off for you. We fought you guys in World War II. I'm going to take my shoes off for you? I don't think so." And all the other mob guys get with him. They're like, "Yeah, I'm not putting my shoes off." And then they take the Japanese guy back in the bathroom and just beat him to death for no reason.
But he got his tape.
Yeah, he did. Got to keep his tape. All right, here's a clip I wanted to play.
It's funny. You're a funny guy.
What do you mean the way I talk? What?
It's just, you're just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Tommy, no, you got it all wrong. See?
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how? What?
You're funny.
You mean,
So?
let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
No, just, how you tell the story. What?
No, I don't know. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the am I funny? What the is so funny about me? Tell me. Tell me what's funny.
Get the out of here, Tommy.
I almost had him.
Good fellas. Great scene there.
God, man.
It is very hard to edit a scene with Joe Pesci.
Oh, yeah. He works them in so fluidly. It's like, boom,
Yeah.
boom.
It's got to be hard to talk to the mob because if that's how they really, that guy in the movie, if that's how if it's like that, that's how they talk and that's how they're afraid of each other. I mean, what are you going to say? Like, hey, man, nice job. What do you mean, nice job? What do you mean? I did good?
Or
I did okay?
Yeah, later on in the movie, that guy calls him some just completely banal insult about how you're a piece of work or something, and then Joe Pesci shoots him in the chest.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the reason we play that is there was that story last week about how the Justice Department did this big mob bust in New York.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, caught like 120 Mafia figures. Now, I was thinking about that, and at first I'm thinking, oh, that's pretty awesome because it's just like the movies. That's what I thought, But then I felt bad for the Mafia because then I started thinking like,
Really?
now Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro and Al Pacino all got pinched. But then I'm thinking like, really? I mean, okay, I'm not saying that organized crime isn't a problem in America, but is it really the problem that we want the Justice Department concentrating on? What they said, 800 federal officers were all concentrating on this for years?
Yeah, but aren't they responsible for just a lot of violence and
No.
murders and all sorts of money?
Yeah, but we have but how come you never hear about something that massive with a huge drug ring in Baltimore City or with terrorists? How about that? How about a story about a huge terrorist cell that's been exposed in America? Why don't you take your 800 federal officers and concentrate on that? That is what threatens America the most now, not the Mafia. I mean, hey, it's organized crime. They're organized. They know what they're doing.
I did research on that actually, and I don't know what the statistics are for mob murders, but there are 522 deaths or something like that a year at the hands of an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you talk about the things threatening America right now. Terrorism, illegal immigration, drug, and then part of the illegal immigration is the drug cartels, which are a big problem. Right. And then you have just your average drug cells in America, crime. You have crime families in the inner city of these drug dealers, except they're not nearly as organized or cool. And so,
that's the only reason you're mad about it, because
no, I'm not. I mean, what I'm saying is true. Those are the three things that threaten America the most. The Mafia is down. Now, if this was 1937, it'd be different.
That'd be great.
If this was Prohibition, then the Mafia is your biggest problem.
But you're forgetting, though, that these guys are responsible for getting a lot of these drugs and illegal guns into the country. They create a black market so they can be profitable off of things that are illegal. And and they're really good at what they do. The reason they haven't got pinched in the past is because they're good at passing the blame off to the next guy down the line. They're also responsible for bringing a lot of these illegals into the country to work. I'm not going to say I worked at a place where there was some Italian guys who were kind of, knew some wise guys, and they got some pretty cheap labor from south of the border.
Okay, but illegal immigration the mafia is not the number one propellant of illegal immigration. It's the big corporations around here that hire these people. It's Walmart. And if you're going to say it's the mafia ties that Walmart has, it's the mafia. The reason why they did this is because it's a showy, flashy thing that gets good publicity, the Justice Department. But I think we could all agree that if you have 800 federal officers, I would rather see you go down to the border and battle the drug cartels, or how about terrorism? I would like to hear a story about 120 terrorists in America that were caught, because there are 120 terrorists, a lot more than that in America, as we well know. And so why not allocate your resources to take care of that? I'm not saying don't concentrate on mafia, but if you're going to take 800 federal officers and spend years working on something, I'd rather it be that. Get with the times. It's not 1937 anymore. Okay, I'm glad that Junior Lollipops and Vito Love and Johnny Cash and Baby Fat and Jimmy Gooch are all, behind bars now, but I'm more worried about Abdul Rahim Mahmoud, I'm more worried about him now. He's a terrorist guy.
What's his name again? I think that sounded familiar.
Abdul Mahid Mahmoud Al-Ruh.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm more worried about him, Mohammed Al-Hum, than I am worried about Tony Bagels or Bobby Glasses or Baby Shacks or Meatball.
They're pretty cool nicknames.
But I do think that
Vinny Car Wash.
These terrorist cells probably work very much the same as the mafia guys in New York, New Jersey. So if they learn how to take a mass amount of these guys down, everything's a training exercise. So it does set up those 800 officers to figure out how to take down terrorist cells.
It's a training exercise, busting a mafia?
Okay, I understand what you're saying, that you feel like that was a lot of people on one case, but they did take down 127 guys, and they were all criminals. So, if we're going to talk about people should be arrested for breaking the law, these guys are breaking all sorts of laws, and they finally got pinched for it.
But they're good at it.
They're too good at it, and that's why it's taken years to build cases against them. You go back even to Prohibition, when it was obvious that guys like Al Capone were running a black market ring for alcohol. They didn't even get him on the crimes that he committed. They got him on tax evasion.
Yes, I understand that.
These guys are really good at what they do, and if they have an opportunity to take them down.
Yeah, so the terrorists are too, and they're the ones that are responsible for killing people all over the globe. Not to mention the ones responsible for 9/11, not the mafia. The terrorism is the number one threat to America. Illegal immigration is number two. Drugs in general are number three, but the mafia is not the number one thing behind drugs anymore. They're just not. You go into inner city of Baltimore or even Salisbury, for God's sakes, it's not the mafia that's running drugs. Mm-hmm. There are different groups of
and they're kids.
Put it this way, it's a different ethnicity than Italian.
But
that is responsible for drug running.
But there has to be someone at the top that gets these massive amounts of drugs.
Yes, it's not the mafia though. It's not the mafia. It's not. It's Baltimore City. They don't get their drugs from the mafia. It's not. We could all pretend that the mafia is still responsible for every crime in the country. It's just not the case. I'm not saying that the mafia doesn't do some bad stuff, but they're not responsible like they used to be for pretty much every bad thing that happens. There are other things. Next thing you know, you're going to try to tie the mafia to terrorism and tell me that the mafia is sending terrorists over here too. They're not. So let's just if I'm in the Justice Department and I'm saying, all right, there is something that I'm going to take 800 federal officers and put them on a case for 2-3 years, what would it be? Let me think. Oh, terrorism. That's what I'm going to do. And because guess what? There's terrorists in New York City, just like there were mafia guys. So while you're busting the mafia with this big showy thing so you can get good publicity, Ahmed and Muhammad and all those guys are, next door plotting their next terrorist attack.
But I would say that a lot of these terrorists, even in New York City, they probably rub elbows with people of the same kind. And I'm pretty sure if you start pinching these guys, they're going to know some information about other things besides just other guys in the mafia.
They're not going to know terrorist information. They're not tied. I've never heard anyone claim that mafia is tied to terrorism. I'm not saying they're
tied to them, but I'm saying these people run in the same circles. They start to overlap a little bit. When you're dealing with a criminal element, they are going to know some of the same type of people, because to be that deep in organized crime, there's only going to be a couple of guys that you can get this and that from. Illegal weapons, say stuff to make bomb materials.
Sons of Anarchy brings weapons.
Yeah, there are. Thank you. Good point. There are. But
Tommy Toaster Oven does not rub elbows with them off with other guys.
Yeah, and Sons of Anarchy is about bike gangs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The point is, nowadays, anybody can get drugs in the country, and the mafia is not at the forefront of that anymore. I mean, maybe that's the way it used to be, but any Joe can get some crack, especially. And then when you think about it, the inner city, our biggest problems are like crack. And that is stuff that drug dealers cook in their kitchen and sell to kids.
Yeah, but they got to make it from cocaine. And the reason that the mafia has always set up shop in that New York, New Jersey area is because of the import. I'm an import-export. Because they get down by the docks and they end up paying some guys off so that they can get a couple of crates in that have illegal materials in them. And these guys have been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. They're very well connected, and I'm sure eventually, I mean, they are international. I mean, these guys did come from Italy, so they are an international crime organization.
The other thing about the mafia is that if you are not looking to get involved with the mafia, you don't have to worry about the mafia. Mm-hmm. Terrorism, on the other hand, they'll find you and they'll kill you. You don't have to go mess with. You call me naive. I am not worried about ever being killed by a mafia guy ever. Nope. I'm not worried. It's not going to happen. I can say right now that however I die, and I hope that it's in some interesting, creative way, it will not be because I was pinched by snuffed out by the mafia. It'd be cool if it was that way, but that's
sweet.
Yeah, I'm not going to be swimming with the fishes with concrete shoes. I mean, it's just not going to be that way.